there's been a lot in the news, and we've all lived through and all these communities about really bad natural disasters that have hit New York in the past 5-6 years. How does your organization respond to natural disasters where you obviously need a lot of volunteer help?
It's interesting. I mentioned that we did a big strategic planning process that lasted a year. Nowhere in that did we ever think that disaster prep and response was going to be something that was going to become a very important part of what we do, but it has. When you think about the natural disasters or things like the anniversary of Newtown and Sandy Hook recently observed, the power that turns on first is volunteer power. Mm-hmm. The first thing that you do after you can make sure your family's okay and make sure that you can get out your front door is you check on a neighbor. Yep. That's what people said time and time again. But what happens sometimes, and this is not a great thing to say, but the second disaster can be the volunteers if they're not going where they're needed or doing what is meaningful. One of the things that upset me so much when I was watching the news, when I got power back on after Sandy, was, you remember a nor'easter came through a few days after, and I saw bags of unsorted clothing that had been donated by well-meaning people being tossed into a dumpster to make room for more people who needed to come into a shelter on Staten Island.
Wow.
That kind of thing is what we're hoping that we'll be able to do.
So there was no coordination of assets.
Right. So Governor Cuomo has put a lot of thought into this, and there's actually funding from the federal government and the state to really utilize some of the regional volunteer centers in Sandy relief, because there's still a lot to be done in some areas, and all of the regions in looking forward to how can we all be more organized, how can we have a system in place where nonprofits know to let us know about their volunteer needs, and where the community knows the first place to turn to is the volunteer center. Let's find out what the real needs are. And so we're excited to be part of this conversation in a real meaningful way. And we're very excited that we've got the support in Westchester County to do that as well.
Just talk about Sandy for a second. A couple of weeks after Sandy, I get a letter, or my company gets a letter addressed to me, which never happens. And my boss calls me up and says, "Oh, we got a letter here from you from Queens." I said, "Really?" So my boss brings it in, and I open it up, and in it is a note. Mr. Murphy, we found this when we were going through some clothes. I figured you needed it. It was my work ID. My daughter had gone into my closet and just grabbed a whole bunch of clothes and went down to Rockaway, and didn't ask her, but it all went to a good cause.
Well, and one of the great things about what we're doing as part of a regional system is we're helping one another out. So I'll throw a plug in now, because this is going to air well in time. New York Cares is one of we're part of a national affiliation called the Hands On Network, and New York Cares, which a lot of people know as the organization in New York City that collects coats at this time of year, is dreadfully down in terms of the number of coats that they need. So if anybody is interested and has an extra coat, you can go to newyorkcares.org and find out all the information about where to drop off. Absolutely. Yeah, and there are places certainly in Westchester that need them too. So
sure.
There are just a lot of needs and a lot of specific needs. And the one thing that I didn't know when I was watching those black bags be tossed into dumpsters is whether or not they were filled with bathing suits and dirty clothes and things like that. Yeah. Some of the most wonderful organizations we have here in Westchester actually go through, and their job and mission is to sort things, to package them so that people can come and see exactly what they're getting and easily find something that'll fit, a 10-year-old boy in the wintertime or, a 6-year-old girl in the spring.
Because as you know, that what fits that 6-year-old girl will not fit her when she's 7 years old.
That's right.
And so there's always a constant need for updating and upgrading.
Absolutely.
Both of us are from the area. You're a longtime New Rochelle resident. I'm a longtime Mamaroneck resident, and we are blessed in this area with an abundance of kind people who volunteer and who help out. Mamaroneck is the only community on the Sound Shore, at least in most of Westchester, that has an all-volunteer fire department. But let's talk about in general in New York State. There was some study that showed that we're as a state we're lacking, or
Yes, I'm a little embarrassed to say that's true. There's a census, there's part of the census questions each year. There's a phone call that goes out in September. It goes out to, I don't know, a few thousand people, and it simply asks, have you volunteered in any way the past 12 years? New Yorkers used to be the least likely to say yes. We ranked 51 out of 50 states and the District of Columbia. It was really embarrassing. Utah ranks first, New York State ranked last. I'm pleased to say, Tom, that last year we leapfrogged over Louisiana and we're now 50. I know.
thank God.
That was part of the reason why regional systems were put into place, something to sort of get people volunteering. But I'm not sure if we're not volunteering or if people don't always think about what they're doing, the great service
Right.
that they're providing as volunteering. Because you're a volunteer if you serve on a board for a nonprofit or if you serve on a board for your faith-based organization.
Coach a little league team.
If you coach a little league team, if you have time and you're serving at a soup kitchen, if you serve on a municipal board, if you're not getting paid for it and you're spending good time and it's not part of your job, that's volunteering. We need more people in our area as well to just recognize that that they probably already are volunteering, and that it's a value add to them as well as the community, and we need more people to volunteer. Frankly, I don't know about New York State, but I would love to see Westchester become a beacon where people knew you live in Westchester, you work in Westchester, you volunteer in Westchester. Yes. I think there are some shining lights in the state, Rochester, Poughkeepsie, and the reason that those cities have a great high rate of volunteering is because there's a corporate involvement. We have wonderful corporations here in Westchester, and they're getting more and more involved. It's become more and more evident to smart businesses that they know that if they encourage employees to volunteer, their employees will be happier. Sometimes they'll get some kinds of experiences that they won't get in the workplace that will benefit them professionally. And it creates that kind of community where you want to keep your business here. People want to live here.
There's a spiritual dividend that maybe some corporations that are enlightened are actually tapping into.
Absolutely. There's a national movement called A Billion Plus Change, and it was an idea that companies would take a pledge that they would pledge 1 billion hours of pro bono service from their employees. Well, it's closer to 2 billion now that it's gotten started.
Wow.
And companies are realizing that, again, it's a little bit of an education on both sides of the bridge. It's the education that companies need to realize that they have employees that have skills that could really be useful for nonprofits, those professional skills, as well as all those wonderful, it's great when employees all go out and they clear a trail or they paint a room or they put on a program for kids. That's great. But more and more they're realizing that if they've got technical skills, they probably can share that with a nonprofit. If they have marketing skills, there's a nonprofit that needs that. Strategic planning, human resources, all of those things. And as people get more involved, accounting is a financial, very, very big and important. So in all of these ways, I think, I think New York State is ripe to move up the ladder, and I hope we will. So if you get a call, you have to answer it first of all, and then you have to say, yes, I did volunteer. But we'll keep doing what we can do here.
I think you make a good point. I think when people are asked to help, much more often than not, they will help.
Absolutely.
I think it's in our nature.
Right.
And you have to tap into that.
Siena College did a survey
It's up by Albany.
Right,
Yeah.
and they did some surveys for the regional centers, and that is exactly one of the things that they found out. People say the two reasons why they don't volunteer. One, they don't know if they have enough time. Two, no one asks.
Yeah.
So there's always a need at the volunteer center. We always have these opportunities. You can find them on our website. You can call. We can always find an opportunity. So your listeners have been asked. They know where to go. And it's up to us to help make
And the website will be on the screen here
Absolutely.
telling us
Absolutely.
where they can go. I just want to talk about we have about 5 more minutes, but I want to talk about Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
President Obama had asked that everybody, start celebrating Martin Luther King Day by making it a day of service.
Right.
And how are you guys handling that?
So for the past 3 or 4 years now, I guess, we have on the Saturday before, so not on the Monday that his birthday is officially celebrated, but the Saturday before, we have hundreds of volunteer opportunities around Westchester and this year in Putnam and Rockland and Ulster, where people can come and volunteer. These are opportunities that can be completed in a day. You can come with a group, with your family, with people you work with neighbors, or you can come alone to meet people. Because I tell you, volunteering is also a nice way to matchmake.
And you're meeting somebody nice.
Exactly,
That's right.
exactly. And you have some common interests.
Exactly.
So what we do is on December 17th, you can go on our website and you can click on and register for opportunities. You can find the ones that you're interested in based on the kinds of activities you're looking for or where they are. We have some that are going to be in the Sound Shore. And so people here can find things that are right in your backyard, or you can explore another part of Westchester or another county. I've gone to places where people from other counties have come because they've heard about the opportunities. It's really wonderful to be involved and know that this is really living out the legacy of Dr. King. This is exactly what he would want, for us all to be engaged together. So we do something similar also around 9/11, because 9/11 is now a National Day of Service and Remembrance. So those are our two big community days of action, where we'll have 400 to 500 people out and about doing really wonderful acts of kindness for other people. You don't have to do them on just those days, but
Right.
sometimes that's the jump start that people need.
This program will be airing on December 19th. So that right before the holidays. So it's almost like a gift you can give your community for Christmas.
That's right.
You take a day and you try and help out. And there's nothing more in the Christmas spirit than trying to help out your fellow man.
That's right. It's a wonderful way, and a lot of people actually do want to volunteer, especially this time of year. And what we always say to people is, just remember that the need is there all year round.
Dickens said, it's a time of year when abundance rejoices and need is keenly felt. So if you have some time and some extra money this year, there are plenty of places in this community and around us that could do it and could use your help. Just in a minute or so, what message would you like to send to people who are maybe, I don't have enough time, or I don't have I have a busy life, because everybody's always complaining about having a busy life, but what's the alternative?
Right, exactly.
So
if you've got a pulse, you should volunteer.
Exactly.
That can be our new.
Okay, I like that. If you're breathing, you should volunteer.
I think people need to understand that you can make a difference in a short period of time. You don't have to make a commitment that you're going to show up at the same place every week, for a year. You can really matter in one of these opportunities that can be completed in a matter of hours. There are all kinds of ways to volunteer. You really will find that dirty secret, that it makes you feel so good, and it's almost like you're getting more out of it than you're giving. So I encourage people to turn to us if you have a little time to dip your toe into it. It'll be worth it. It really will.
And hopefully you'll want to do it again, and it'll feel good.
Exactly.
We have to wrap up, but thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's always a pleasure to see you. I just want to end this right now by wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year. We're coming up at this time of year to the anniversary of the Newtown massacre, which was a year ago this time of year. And I think that we, as a community and as a people and as a nation, we have to look at where we are with gun control and what has happened. And there was just another story in the paper today in Colorado about another school shooting. And we really have responsibility as adults to try and stop this. So I hope in the next year we will all try and persuade, cajole, and in some case, scream at our elected officials to have something done about gun control, so that next year we won't have to have another remembrance of another school shooting. But Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, and we will see you in 2014.